I am curious what you think, because I, again, would love to be the number 5 seed and be able to basically run roughshod before I get to the number 1 team in the country who's going to be coming off of a win but also a game that they had to play. Feels like the spot to be in. And it would also add a little bit more, I think, flair, if you will, to the process. Because if you are, say, Alabama, and you are willing to drop down to the 5 seed or take that matchup, you would also be saying, Boise State, I pick you. I want to fight you. I don't want to take the bye week. I want to fight you. And in doing so, everybody else is going to say, yo, dog, are you really punching down? And to which Alabama would say, or I would say, nah, I'm trying to win the national championship. And this feels like the easiest road to winning the national championship. Not really that interested in taking the hard road unless you are. Maybe you are a part of a D&D cohort who is on an honor run in Baldur's Gate 3, where you've just decided, hey, if we die like men. But we are going to chase the gold die. We are going to be this group of people that has decided we want the toughest road imaginable. We want to be what Owen Wilson was describing in Armageddon, just the toughest environment imaginable. Give it to us. Maybe so you could say, hey, not only are we the national champs, we took the hardest possible path to becoming the national champs, and now you have to consider us as one of the best teams in all the sport for history, right? This is cool in as far as I get to talk about it, but I can't imagine what it would be like for an Alabama fan to say, damn, really? Did we just pick Boise State? Did we just cower? And then everybody else get to tell you as an Alabama fan, that's exactly what you did. Find that really fascinating. Let me know what you think in the chat and later in the replay in the comments below. That leads me to another observation. So the SEC and the Big Ten have already begun pushing to have 4 automatic bids to the college football playoff. Well, right now, there are only 12 teams in the college football playoff, and we know the conference champions are going to get in from the Power 4. I think this is, 1, right on time, and 2, going to happen for one major reason. It is going to be almost impossible for the College Football Playoff Selection Committee to put together a bracket that does not have a conference game or 2 on the way to the national championship. What I mean by that is, it's easy for us to see Ohio State and Oregon having to play again in the semifinal of a college football playoff. It is easy for us to see Georgia and Alabama having to play again in the semifinal of a 12-team college football playoff. And more to the point, we've already grown used to this as an idea because we watched the 2022 national championship game, which was not only basically the SEC championship, but a regular season game, depending on the year, for Alabama and Georgia, and it was fine. Everybody agreed that those were the 2 best teams even before they made it to the national championship game, and then it was what it was. I think if you want to have some variation in your playoff bracket, you're going to have to extend it, which means that you're going to have to do what I told you should do 5 years ago, which is have a 16-team playoff. But again, back to compromise. What I wanted was all of the conferences that have conference champs to have their conference champ automatically qualify, kind of like the NCAA tournament, to which everybody continues to tell me that's too many teams. Well, the same people that said too many teams are also having a compromise because they thought 4 was too many teams. They just wanted to see the 2 best teams play, and they didn't want to see anybody penalized for that. What we found is at least 3 teams are always supposed to be there, right? There are always 3 teams that we feel like can win the national championship, but we got to have a 4th team in there to have a fair fight, right? Now, we're getting both of those. We're getting into the 16 team, but we're going to get there probably with 4 automatic bids from the SEC and the Big Ten, which gives us 8. And then you have your Notre Dame spot, right, which gives us another team that could get in, but somebody could steal that when you have your Group of 5 champion. This is going to be really fascinating when we get to 2026 because we're going to have 2 years of data to show us whether or not the 12-team playoff works as it's presented. I've already outlined a conversation for you where we can just, see how this might not work. Again, if you're watching the show, please like the live show and like the replay. I realize that right now we're up at triple digits. Please hit the like button. Please hit the subscribe button. I'm talking to you. And if you're in the replay, I'm still talking to you. I would love to see 4 teams from the SEC and 4 teams from the Big Ten get automatic qualification, and then perhaps you get 6 from either two, because maybe they're just that good. And if you look at the SEC, you can really go quite a ways before you feel like you have a team that absolutely positively could not be in a college football playoff of 12 teams. And in the Big Ten, you probably get to 4, right? Pretty easily. So every year I think you're going to be able to get to 4 in the SEC and the Big Ten, and nobody's going to feel bad about that. Where we have a fly in the ointment is a little bit later when I do a segment about, pretenders and contenders. But this makes room for that if you have a 16-team playoff because, well, you could get your blue bloods in if you think they deserve to be in. You got a 9-win Ohio State. You got a 9-win Georgia. Maybe you want to put them in as the 15th and 14th seeds, which I tell you, we would all watch. And that's also going to be a thing that we have to pay attention to. How many people watch these first-round games, especially the 5-12 matchup? Do you really want to watch? Let's remove Texas from the equation. Georgia beat up on Boise State, or Georgia beat up on UNLV, or Alabama beat up on Air Force, or Tennessee. Let's choose a Big Ten team. Michigan have to go play North Texas. I don't know that we would do that. We would want to do that, but you know what? We will do it because that's basically a non-conference game to start the season. That's what that is. There's no difference. It's just one is going to get you further along in the bracket to win the national championship, and you get to call yourself a playoff team. In that way, it kind of comes to resemble the NFL, which, we could talk about for some time as being a bad model or a good model. But I'm going to give you an example here in this next segment about how it's a bad model, okay? And I need you to follow me on this because, well, we're going to need to go to school for just a little bit, but I promise it's not going to get as wonky as it could have. But I need to start with this abomination that College Sports Tomorrow came up with, that they have the nerve to call the College Student Football League. Okay, first of all, do away with student. Just do away with it. We're paying players now. I know that y'all don't want to call it pay for play. I know the NCAA has bylaws against pay for play, but that's what we're doing. Okay? We're paying you for a marketing opportunity because you can play. We're not picking Johnny Rose, Ida Tarbell, Cornelius McGillicuddy to stand in front of a camera and shill for Joe Duffy Ford. That's not what we're doing. We're paying for Caitlin Clark. We're paying for Quinn Ewers. We're paying for Quinshawn Judkins, Jeremiah Smith, to speak on behalf of Joe Duffy Ford because they are stars. And they are stars because they are stars on the field of play. That ain't got nothing to do with going to school. Nothing. Not a damn thing. Nothing at all about going to school is in there. Okay? I realize that's offensive to some of y'all, but that is the way of the world. I don't argue strategy. I just take it as it is, and I find the market inefficiency, and I exploit it. That's called capitalism. That's where we live.